card and fan. Yeah, the card and fan. The card and fan? I wonder why the heck it's called that. Yep, I think I got it now. I think I know now why it's called the card and fan. It seems pretty obvious. Hey everybody, Card Bandit here, and what I'm going to be doing today is the card and fan. So just a little back history on the card and fan. It was actually created by Andrei Jihk in his Genesis Volume 1 DVD/download set. And I don't want to take anything away from Andrei, but there are a lot of free resources out there already for you guys to learn this, which is why I'm going to just add a bit more detail on how to get the card and fan than maybe even Andrei put it on that set. So I'm going to get into a couple more maneuvers on how to get the card into the fan, and you might find one that works better for you. But I did want to give kudos to Andrei because he is the original creator of the flourish. But without further ado, let's get straight into it. So there are two things you have to know when doing card and fan. One is how to create this thing, which is a fan. The next thing is how to do a card toss. So a basic or regular, or even just throwing the card up and having it fall no, actually you have to know how to do a card toss and a card fan, both of which I have tutorials for on my channel, so feel free to check those out if you don't know how to do either of those. But if you know those, let's get straight into it. So let's talk a little bit about the card you're going to take to do the toss into the fan. A lot of people like to take the card from the thumb, and I don't like to do that because I find it messes up my fan a little bit more, because I find my thumb's really close to the edge there, and by pulling out that card you can start to see the fan moving like that. What I like to do instead is I like to take the card from over here, so I actually reach across and I'll grab this card out from beneath the index finger because I find that keeps the fan together better. All personal preference, because if you're doing from the thumb here, your hand's already there to grab the card. I just like to reach around and grab this one instead because I find it messes up my fan less than grabbing it from the thumb. Let's talk about the angle of your fan for a sec. A lot of people perceive that the card and fan has to happen straight up and down, but that's not the case. What I find works better for me is to have the fan at a slight angle. This angle will not only make it a little bit easier to catch the card, but it's more comfortable for the wrist. What I find the angle does is it allows the card to slide in a little bit easier, or it can get caught in behind here, meaning you're going to drop the cards less if you have it on a slight angle as opposed to having it 100% vertical. Not to mention it's going to be a little bit more tricky on the wrist if it is this vertical, and you're just going to have, in my opinion, a little bit more trouble controlling the fan. Now another misconception I find people have about the card and the fan is the toss of the card into the fan. Okay? So a lot of people think you have to throw the card really high in order to get the card to jam itself in the fan, and it may look cooler, and while I agree with it looks way more skillful if you can toss the card really high and still catch it in the fan, it's also wildly more inconsistent. So I would recommend, if you're starting out, to just do a light toss into the fan. Not too light, otherwise the card will bounce out. So it does have to have a little bit of height on it, but it doesn't have to be a lot in order to get that card to stick in the fan. So let's talk a little bit as to how you're going to get that card into the fan. Now, one way is to loosen the pressure with your thumb. It's only a slight loosening of the pressure, but it's going to splay out the top there a little bit more. If you have too much pressure, all the card's going to do is bounce off, and you don't have as much an area to actually aim the card to get it into the fan. So another method to get the card to go in the fan is to actually just apply different pressure to the fan. So normally your thumb's applying pressure in the middle here, okay? But what you can do is apply pressure to the back part of the card, which will open up the top part there. So what I mean by that is you have this little gap right there in your fan. What you can do is you can straighten out the knuckle and press down on the back. So instead of the fan being like this, you press down on the back, which opens it up like so. So you still got the fan pretty securely, but you're applying the pressure here instead of in the center, which opens up that top part to allow the card to go in. The final method I'm going to teach you for getting the card in the fan is to actually apply pressure with the pinky. So when you've got your thumb fan, you loosen a little bit of pressure with your thumb and then push out a little bit with your pinky. So you loosen a little bit of pressure with your thumb, push out with your pinky, and you see the fan starting to open up there. That gives you a few more bigger gaps, and I find that this is the most successful way for me to get the card to go in the fan, but really it's all personal preference. But essentially all I'm doing is applying a little bit of pressure to this part of the fan with the pinky, and that opens up the fan right around there, and then the card can just shoot right into the fan like so. Alright, so at this point you pretty much have all the knowledge you need to know in order to get the card in fan. You know about the angle of the fan, you know about the toss, you know about relieving pressure at the top. A couple last minute pointers is that you have to have the card at the same angle as the fan in order to get it to go in. If you're tossing the card like this, it's not going to go into the fan. I know it seems pretty intuitive, but I thought I'd give that a mention. Also, once the card's going in the fan, so once you've done the toss, you actually reapply pressure to the fan in order to keep the card in there and help the fan not fall apart. So I'll try and show that one more time. So you're going to do the toss, and as the card comes down, you want to catch it. So as the card's sliding in, you apply pressure to stop the card from sliding all the way into the fan, because that'll help get it to stick out, sort of idea. Or if you want, you can just let the card slide in and then apply the pressure. Either way, as soon as the card starts sliding in, you want to apply pressure to the fan in order to catch the card and keep the fan together. The last thing I'm going to mention is just the closer. So really when you're closing, you can close either with one hand or two, like a regular thumb fan. Focus. And then you can have that card sticking out. So that card will be sticking out in any way. And what I like to do is I like to do flicker and then just place it on top. You could do flicker shot and then spin the card around. Or you could even do something like this where you have the card and then you start a cut sequence. That was bad, but at any rate, so there are a lot of different ways to close it, but it's really up to you. Alright guys, so that was the card and fan. I really hope you enjoyed the tutorial. If you already know the move, maybe you learned something different about it, or maybe learned a new method of doing it that works out for you. That being said guys, I really hope you liked it. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you later.